So, what was He-Man? Let's be real, in the 80s, every show was about selling toys, thanks to the rise of commercialism. Of course, this is still a thing now, but it was very apparent during the decade. The same rings true for He-Man. An article by the New York Times from back in the day highlights this by mentioning how the He-Man action figures rivaled even the Cabbage Patch Kids, a doll line so popular that they caused riots in the early 80s. The original show, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, ran from 1983 to 1985, and centered around Prince Adam of the planet Eternia, who defended his land and Castle Grayskull from the antagonist of the show, Skeletor, with the help of some magic and his friends. Despite being born about 3 decades too late, I did actually watch the original show quite a bit as a small child through early uploads onto YouTube. Thanks for that, Mum and Dad. There were other shows and comics and such, but I wasn't so much into those. I, of course, also watched a certain popular video back in the day featuring He-Man. Unfortunately, we're not reviewing the original show today, as a very questionable live-action adaptation of the show was released towards the later part of the 80s. Wish me luck, everyone. And without further ado, on with the review.
Polos is life, 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 sleep all night and then Polos is life.
The movie opens with a narration about how whoever commands Castle Grayskull will be masters of the universe, and therefore there is a struggle over who owns it. The opening music kinda reminded me of Star Wars. It's like this generic epic sci-fi fantasy music, but it's not horrible, I'd say. So, this is Skeletor in this movie. His design just sucks. He dressed in purple more than black in the show, and here, along with the obvious stormtroopers, he just reminds me way too much of Emperor Palpatine. He has managed to capture Grayskull, has taken He-Man's friend, the Sorceress of Power, prisoner, and is pursuing a famous locksmith named Gwildor. Because of all of this, they can all assume that Skeletor has triumphed over He-Man, who consequently doesn't seem too chuffed about all this. Dolph Lundgren, who plays He-Man, definitely looks the part, and his hair is definitely an improvement compared to the show's design. He-Man then rescues his friends Man-at-Arms and his daughter Teela, and they free Gwildor, who is being taken away by Skeletor's men. Okay, first of all, why does He-Man have a gun? What happened to his sword of power? Second of all, the dubbing for Gwildor is really bad. The facial prosthetic is clearly very large and is making it difficult to see the actor's lips moving, and it was really distracting for me. So, Gwildor reveals that he has invented a cosmic key, which uses musical notes to open portals that can lead to anywhere the user desires. This is how Skeletor was able to ambush He-Man and his troops. He stole it from Gwildor, who luckily still has his prototype. They break their way into the castle and we get some more evil villain dialogue.
And when the moon reaches its zenith, the great eye will open, and all the powers of Grayskull will be bestowed upon me!
You know, it's setting up a big conflict for the climax of the movie. Classic 80s action thing. Gwildor uses his key to escape, but our heroes are transported to Earth. Well, that sucks. Who'd want to go to Earth? There's this stupid scene where they come across a cow and Gwildor tries to talk to it.
Maybe I can communicate with the poor creature.
Gwildor.
Moo.
Gwildor.
I get that it's meant to be funny or cute, but I just kind of rolled my eyes. Unfortunately, the key is lost on their way there, and is discovered by 2 teenagers? one of which is an orphan played by a very young Courtney Cox. This is Julie and her boyfriend Kevin. They're just typical 80s teenagers. I don't really know what they're doing in this movie about He-Man, but let's roll with it for now. Meanwhile, Gwildor steals a couple's bucket of meat while they're not looking. What the hell is going on in this movie? When's He-Man and Skeletor gonna appear again? Teela is disgusted when Man at Arms reveals that they're eating animal meat, but I don't get how he knew that and she didn't. The stupid kids assume the key is an instrument, meaning that Skeletor can now see where they are. We are then introduced to his evil warriors, most of which weren't in the show. They have Beastman, but I just wish his fur was more vibrant like in the show. So the bad guys arrive and beat up the school janitor, and they chase Julie around in order to take her alive in hopes of finding the key. But continuously try to gravely injure her? Logic. Luckily for her, she runs into He-Man, who gives her a gun and hides her away while going to fight the bad guys. We finally get another scene where he uses his sword to fight someone, and Man-at-Arms and Teela arrive to help scare the evil warriors off.
I've waited a long time for this.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Gwildor has conveniently stolen a car that he's modded, so that's a thing apparently.
Cruising down the street in my 6'4", jocking the bitches, slapping the hoes.
While showing off what he thinks is a new instrument to his mate at a music shop, Kevin hears that there's been trouble at their school, where he left Julie. He-Man explains the key to Julie just as the authorities arrive, and Kevin gets in trouble because he argues with the cops about finding his girlfriend. Yeah, he was rude, but the cop is just a dickhead here. He's a kid and his girlfriend is missing while the school janitor is being carried out on a stretcher. Skeletor is pissed and kills one of the evil warriors. This one was an addition for the movie, so who cares to be honest. He then sends his second in command, a witch named Evil Lynn, to find the key in He-Man. While Kevin is at Julie's house, Julie calls him and tells him to keep hold of the key, but the cop is suspicious about the whole affair. I actually like this part, it is a bit tense. This is immediately subsided, however, when Kevin puts what I assume is a bucket of chicken in the microwave, and it blocks Skeletor's party's tracking signal. Assuming that it's some high-tech whatchamajigger, they blow up the microwave. This part was just so ridiculous and cheesy. It does make the cop confiscate that bloody key though. As soon as the cop leaves, Evil Lynn and the others arrive, beat up and interrogate Kevin, using some kind of mind control collar. I actually thought that they were gonna electrocute him and torture the answer out of him, but maybe that was a bit dark for this goofy movie. With the evil warriors leaving once they have the information, our heroes then just so happen to arrive. Why couldn't they arrive earlier? Very suited timing it seems. Our heroes manage to get to the cop who is asking the music store guy about the key before the evil guys, and as expected, the cop doesn't take any of them seriously. I mean, if I saw some guy walking around like this, I wouldn't take him seriously either. A battle takes place in the music store once Evil Lynn arrives, and it breaks my heart to see all these lovely instruments getting smashed to pieces. Julie then sees her dead mother and is beckoned outside by her, while the cop is fighting Kevin.
Your new friends are all tied up with the work we're doing, and they have something we want. That shiny metal thing, with the blinking lights. Will you get it for us?
I am so confused. She's just letting her boyfriend get beat up while an apparition of her dead mother apparently asks her to get the key for her? What would her actual mother want with it? How stupid is this girl? Obviously, it's actually Evil Lynn, who then summons Skeletor to Earth in this ridiculous show of lights. Despite kicking the opposition's ass, He-Man surrenders himself in order to save the others when Julie is struck by Skeletor. This does seem to fit the character, and Skeletor does plan on humiliating He-Man publicly, so that the people of Eternia lose faith and submit to his rule. It does just fit the story. Julie's wound looks very disgusting. I wouldn't like to be in her position, but I can't say I feel bad for her considering that she's a dumbass. Don't worry, she'll make up for it when she becomes Gale Weathers. Gwildor explains that they need the right tones in order to return home, and being the music nerd he is, Kevin is able to solve this by having memorized the song from before. We also get a nice meta joke here.
God, I wish that thing would shut up. Well, thanks.
Skeletor has He-Man tortured, so I guess I was wrong in thinking this movie was above that. The time arrives for Skeletor to become the master of the universe, and this new look is really not for him. It looks horrible, what can I say? Our protagonists, including that nutty cop from earlier and half the car, are teleported to Castle Grayskull just in time to save the day, as we have less than 15 minutes left of this film. I don't get why Skeletor just kinda stands there and fucks up a few times. If he's so omnipotent, surely these guys are mere ants beneath his feet. You almost had it, Dolph. You need to put some oomph into it. You have to mean it. So, He-Man and Skeletor have their final battle, where He-Man triumphs and Skeletor is stripped of his power. He-Man then knocks him down a shaft into a pit below the castle. Look familiar, anyone? The sorceress heals Julie and gives her a souvenir, and the cop decides to remain living in Grayskull. Just because, I guess? Gwildor does Julie a nice favour in sending the kids back in time to prevent the plane crash that killed Julie's parents. This scene is actually very sweet, and the movie ends with Kevin confirming that everything was real, by holding up the gift from the sorceress. I actually didn't know this before doing research about He-Man for this video, but the franchise actually began as a response to Mattel rejecting the rights to the Star Wars action figures, and regretting it, according to an article by PopMatters, summarising some of the story told by Roger Sweet, an ex-employee of Mattel who claimed to have invented He-Man. You can definitely see Star Wars elements in the original Masters of the Universe cartoon, but it's so blatant in this movie. There were definitely some stronger elements of fantasy in the show, and more of a focus on Adam, with He-Man being a hidden identity, which you don't get at all in this movie. The name Adam isn't even mentioned. I don't really understand why the high school kid plot was necessary as well, but I guess they were trying to do something new, and maybe this was a misguided attempt at reaching a teenage audience. The addition of new villains doesn't really make sense to me. Who the fuck is this guy? Where's Trapjaw? Merman? No? Were their prosthetics just too difficult to achieve, so they made a shitty evil Robocop with swords? They already added Gwildor, who is just meant to be Orko, that much is clear. So why all the new villains? No one cares about them. Where the hell is Cringer, by the way? Was he taking a catnap for the duration of the film? On that note, let's talk about Skeletor. I know this is low-hanging fruit at this point, but his design sucks. I see what they were trying to do, but it doesn't look like a skeleton like in the show or comics. I can excuse the lack of real nose holes because you could only do so much with makeup, and it also depends on the actor's facial structure, but the lack of attempted eye holes are what ruins it. They did this because the actor needed to see where he was going, and a stop motion or puppet head may have been too expensive. They could have at least done some kind of sunglasses material eye effect though. I could forgive that, it was 1987. Skeletor's voice just isn't Skeletor either.
And when the moon reaches its zenith, the great eye will open, and all the powers of Grayskull will be bestowed upon me!
He didn't have a commanding voice like that. He sounded like how you'd expect a skeleton to sound!
Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
His voice was so memorable and iconic too, I don't know why you'd make that change. On the other hand, I don't really have a problem with Dolph Lundgren's performance overall. It's a stupid, cheesy movie, but some of his dialogue is a little flat in places.
He's in terrible danger. Let's go.
Despite all of this, I don't think this is a horrible movie. I actually think this didn't deserve the hate it got at the time. Yes, they missed the mark with several things, and it's by no means a good movie at all. but I think it's fun and I would definitely watch it again. Although, in the previously referenced article, it is implied that this movie was the final nail in the coffin for the franchise in the 80s, which is unfortunate. Well, that's all for this video. Be sure to follow me on social media as they are all linked in my description box. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.
The blue and green ones are my favorite kind, but I'll eat the colored ones from time to time. Cause Polos is life, 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 Polos is life. Sleep all night and then Polos is life.